And before we go into the land acknowledgement, I'd like to first welcome Mackenzie Ryan as the board's new administrative assistant. Mackenzie joins us from YRP number 5 district, where she provided direct support to the superintendent inspector. Prior to joining the team at number 5 district, Mackenzie was a IM Crown folder processor and a youth and policing initiative supervisor at YRP. But this is one that I didn't know. And I have to say, she also has extensive client service experience from her time at Shell Lumber, where she supported various new projects and implemented a training program to support staff learning. Mackenzie, I was there for 32 years, but I don't remember seeing you. And Mackenzie's education experience will be an asset to supporting this office, and we are confident she will become an invaluable addition to the board staff. Mackenzie is taking over for Jacqueline Cogan, who was promoted to board manager earlier this year. Jacqueline had successfully managed both roles over the last several months while we progressed through this recruitment process. With over 13 years with the board, she has played a crucial role in supporting various processes and facilitating projects that supported the board's mandate. As a board member, Jacqueline will serve as the primary contact for the board's reporting, meeting protocols, and agenda preparation. Jacqueline will also support the police services board members with onboard training and guidance on legislative responsibilities and compliance requirements. We welcome you both to your new and dynamic roles. So the only thing, welcome, Mackenzie. I'd have to say, I should know Ryan. But welcome. And this will probably be a little easier than Shell Lumber. Yeah. Anyways, and Jacqueline, thank you for stepping up. And I only ask one thing, Jacqueline, you don't need to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't need to send out reports at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. We can get them in the morning. So there's no big deal, because I don't believe anybody's at least I won't be reading them. But anyways, it probably would be take your time and but you don't need to send out reports all night. So members of the board, on behalf of the board, we acknowledge that York Region is located on traditional territory of many indigenous peoples, including Anishinaabe, Honanoshi, Huron-Wendat, and Métis people, and the treaty territories of Honanoshi, Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and Williams Treaty First Nation. Today, this area is home to many diverse indigenous people, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of this land. We also acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation as our closest First Nation community. Members of the board, is there any disclosure of interest? I see Linda on. I haven't seen Madeline yet. She just joined. I heard that little door knock. Okay, there she is. Is there any disclosure of interest on any of the items this morning, board members? If you do find one as we go through the process, please advise me and we will make it for the record. Okay, so I thought we did have a presentation, but we don't have one now. We do, okay. Next month. Okay, so confirmation of public meetings of September 25th. Thank you, Walter. Any questions on the minutes? All those in favor? Against? The motion is carried. No presentation, no deputation, communication, consideration, adopting reports. So members of the board, 6.1 all the way through to 8.1 all the way to 8.7. Is there another chief would like to talk to 8.2 and 8.7? And then we'll go into the other stuff. So is there any board member want to pull any of the items? 8.6, Steve? 8.6, a donation of clothing. That's the one. Just so, because there's been a few agenda coming through, and I just want to make sure that's the right one you want to talk to. Any other reports wanting for further discussion? So we're going to pull 8.2, 8.6, and 8.7 of the adoption reports. Not seeing others, so I'm going to ask Mariel. I guess I need second or two, don't I? Walter and Norma second minutes, and then Mariel and Steve will move all the balance of the reports. Okay, all those in favor? Against? The motion's carried. So 8.2, Chief, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. First off, Kenzie, and welcome aboard. And Jacqueline, congratulations once again. Well done. Looking forward to working with you. In relation to 8.2, Mr. Chair, and through you, it's a recommendation that, or a respectful recommendation that the board approve the disbursement of $10,000 through the Public Relations Fund for an upcoming event within the York region that supports the United Way, which, as you all know, is a key charity for both York Regional Police and for the Regional Municipality of York. We are hosting an event on November 7th of this year. It's going to be a very interesting, very enjoyable, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm sure my good friend, Dan Kuzmic, would agree. I did want to comment and thank Dan for bringing this forward in terms of an event to support the United Way. It is a musical event hosted here in Newmarket and at the Old Town Hall, and we hope to raise a significant amount of money to go towards helping those in need. So my respectful request would be that the board support a $10,000 funding request for that event, which will go to the United Way.
Thank you, sir. Questions on it? And Linda and Madeline, you'll move that recommendation? Thank you. So I heard too that it's the Battle of the Bands, and your two groups will go to any municipality as long as it's worth your while and there's fundraising for United Way. So if anyone else wants in the Battle of the Bands come to their local municipality, they're more than happy to come and do that for you. Looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I think I have a commitment. I'm going to try to make it over. So it should be a very interesting evening. Probably between 150 and 200 people be there. So it's a good deal. Okay. All those in favor? Against, the motion's carried. 8.6, Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is an extremely worthy cause to do this. Just wondering, is there not other opportunities that we can do more of this?
Well, yes, short answer is yes. Whenever we have these types of items, I mean, the reality is, it has to be supported by the organization that's giving it over, right? In terms of taking those donated items and actually dispersing them to those in need. But whenever that opportunity exists, and if there are other opportunities to ask for that, release for those items, because in many cases, insurance takes care of it before the items are recovered, then we can do things like that. So short answer is yes, Mayor, we can.
Thank you.
Move the
Happy to-
recommendation?
Yeah.
Thank you. Seconder Walter, thank you. No further discussion on it. All those in favor? Against, the motion? Oh, Linda, you had a question? Sorry. No, okay. All those in favor is carried. Thank you. So Chief, 8.7, crime severity index and weighted clearance rate overview. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, sir. And through you, Mr. Chair, definitely a report we want to talk about and answer any questions that may be there. I mean, there is no secret that what's playing out not only in the region here, but in the Greater Toronto area, we are seeing increases around violent crime and overall crime in general. In terms of 2023, and I'm trying to highlight this report for you, give you the highlights and answer any questions because there's a lot of data in this report. And I will say that, and I mentioned this last year, there's still some work to be done in this area because there isn't consistency as to how police agencies across the province and in fact across the country are capturing this information. So we want to find a way to be more consistent and to be able to report out. These are strictly number-driven reports, and the numbers are concerning. In 2023, York Region Crime Severity Index, the overall crime severity index increased 15.2%. And just as a reminder to the board, back in 2009, Stats Canada revised how they capture numbers, and the crime severity index, the way it works essentially, for those who may not have heard this last year when we talked about it, is the severity or the seriousness of the crime is assigned a weight, a score, a number. So the lower threshold crimes would be assigned a lower number. Violent crime, for example, and if you used the worst case scenario, a homicide, maybe that's that number would be 100, whereas a shoplifter might be 1 or a 2 based on the fact that it's a theft under investigation. So that's generally how it works. So when you look at crime severity, it's a better reflection of what's going on in the community in terms of violent crime, overall crime, and that sort of thing. So as I mentioned, 15.2% is the overall crime severity index, taking into account all crimes. And then when you narrow it down to non-violent crime, 20.6% increase. But then violent crime, we've had a 6.7% increase. And what is concerning to me and all of us here at the table is that's the highest increase in the Greater Toronto Area. So you can, the main drivers of violent crime in our region, probably no secret to many people in this room. Robbery has increased 17%, with robbery, home invasion as a major factor contributing to 74% increase in home invasions. And as you have seen, these home invasions in many cases are for vehicles, still plaguing the Greater Toronto Area. Nothing new here in York Region, although we have seen some decreases, as I mentioned at a recent press conference, of a 30% decrease in theft of vehicles, but there's still a lot of work to be done there. Assaults and assault with a weapon, or assault level 2, if you want to call it that, increases in 20%. Criminal harassment incidents increased 30%. And it's important to note that about 18% of these types of crimes, criminal harassment specifically, are more in the cyber world. So, social media, texting, and so on. Also uttering threats, as you're seeing play out, hate crime, threatening types of environments are increasing. Hate crime or uttering threats increased 27%, and uttering threats with that sort of cyber social media aspect accounted for 32% of it as well. And 30% involved a family or an intimate relationship, intimate partner. On the violent crime side, those are the most serious contributors to this. And of the non-violent crimes, property crime contributed to 23% increase in York Region, frauds 25%, and many, targeting seniors. Motor vehicle theft always or also a major contributor to both the violent and non-violent crime, increased 45%. So decreases on the theft side, increases on the carjacking side, home invasion side. And so what that is telling us is that although some of the work that's gone on across the province, and in particular across this province and the GTA, has helped on the theft side, but it's actually pushed people into different areas, and violent crime it's playing out on the streets. More often than not, we're seeing guns show up at carjackings and home invasions. More often than not, we're seeing discharge firearm cases, which has significantly increased in the region, where people are driving up to residences and firing firearms at the residences. We're finding shell casings at these locations. So these are issues we intend on dealing with, and we will deal with it. And I hope that we'll be reporting on trends that are continually decreasing next year, but there's still a lot of work to be done there. I know Al's team, I know Paulo's team on the front line are working really hard. There is a lot going on in the region in terms of investigation, so we'll continue with to keep our foot on that pedal. In terms of the weighted clearance rate, very similar story to last year. Although we see a slight decrease in the overall clearance rate, we are actually clearing more crimes, clearing more incidents. So what that tells us is that increase in crime that's happening. Our officers are still doing a great job in clearing them. It's just the numbers are outweighing the clearances, so then the clearance rate likely is going down. But what I can share is that, we are still amongst the comparators across the province and nationally. We're still lower than the provincial and national average on those clearance rates. So that's an overall assessment of what we should get out of this. There's a lot of numbers in here and a lot of different topics and areas that are covered, but those would be the highlights from the report. And subject to any questions any board members have, any one of us can answer any of those questions. So,
Okay, thanks, Chief. Questions from the board? Walter?
Just a comment, really. This trend is going to continue to accelerate. and it's cultural change across society. Society has become more permissive, less restrictive. And that not only suggests to me that we're going to see these numbers continue to increase despite best efforts, but the severity and the kinetics of those circumstances are going to be more challenging. I was speaking to a couple of deputies about this. In this environment, you will see more guns. In this environment, you're going to see more friction between the perpetrators and obviously civilians and police officers. And the risk should be anticipated because it is going up and will not change in the foreseeable future. I mean, this is a much bigger problem than something that's managed at a municipal level. This literally is a national problem, and one that's going to be extraordinarily difficult and becoming more difficult over time. That's the observation. And there's, as you said, Chief, you've got a set of numbers, but there's lots of additional research being done right now that suggests it gets a whole lot more difficult. The challenge of policing is going to be not only harder, but more dangerous. And those two are realities that need to be not only anticipated, but prepared for. And one of those things, again, from an earlier conversation today, is training and tactics. The survivability and the efficiency of response really needs to meet the increasing challenges that are going to burden the police service here and literally across the country.
Thank you, Walter. Any other comments? When I read this, I was a little disappointed in the increased crime. It's the highest and going forward, but as you've seen over the last few months, quite a few months, that some of the news articles that comes out on TV and some of these crimes that are happening in New York region, like they're very bold. These kids, I think the young youth are involved in it, and they're not stopping. And I think I agree with you, Walter. It's not gonna, I hope it doesn't get any worse, but I mean, I can understand that, that they seem to be bolder and bolder and going forward. So so whatever we can do to provide the tools that the chief and his team need, we'll have to continue to do that, and hopefully our numbers will come down. Chief?
Mr. Chair, if I can just make one more comment on that, and I appreciate those comments, and Walter, I don't disagree with you. But I do want to thank the board once again for supporting the budget that we had put forward. As you know, there's a direct correlation to what we're asking for and combating these issues that we're seeing play out here. So that is to be applauded by this board, because you are putting resources in this organization that will help directly to make the community safer, and more importantly, as I've mentioned before, to make people feel safe, because this is the challenge sometimes, right? When these things play out in social media, when people see and read and hear things about what's happening on the streets and what they see on the news every day, it gives people a sense of not being safe in the community, even though we can look at numbers from time to time and say, relative to the rest of the country, we still live in a safe place. People don't feel that way. And if people aren't feeling that way, and when I say people, I mean even our officers, right? To your point, Walter, about the way our officers are feeling, our officers are seeing this too. And that has an impact on how they think about this position, how they think about policing, how they show up every day, and what they think they're going to be walking into day in and day out, right? So I just wanted, I wanted to make a comment that while we're going forward and trying to make sure that we address this well before it gets out of hand in terms of the complexity of crime, but also, as you've seen before, the growth in the region and what we're trying to do and plan properly for, this has an impact on our people, right? They're not robots. These people have families, and they put their best foot forward every day to come here and strap on their equipment and go out in an environment that to them doesn't look as safe as it once was either. So I just wanted to leave you with that, and just once again thank the board for the support as we go forward here. So thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Madeline? You're muted, dear.
Yeah. No, I just, through you, Chief, in response to, through you, Chairman, to the Chief, I just want to say, and I don't speak for everybody, but I'm sure they all feel the same way. We appreciate everyone who goes out there and does what you just discussed. And I certainly appreciate the challenges and the risks that they are taking. The comments I just want to say with regards to youth, I think there's sort of a demographic from the pandemic in the last 4 years since this whole disrespect towards police and the policing industry in general, the security industry in general, and this terrible, terrible attitude and lack of respect and lack of just thinking that they can just go out there and do whatever they want without any fear. I think now that you are back in the schools and back in the eye of children, and we should hopefully start to see the respect come back, hopefully, with the next generation of kids who are going through school, and that's all I just wanted to comment. I'm hoping that things will improve with the youth anyway, that the respect will come back towards the police. And in general, I mean, I don't know how we can really get out there to the general public and really regain the respect from them, because it's really been eroded with all of the defund and all these movements that have gotten out there, and the media hasn't helped much with a lot of that stuff. So that's all I just wanted to say, that hopefully things will improve as long as you said, you were on top of it and pursuing all avenues to improve things.
Thanks, Madeline. And I think we thought about this way back in COVID, when COVID, we said that this it really will affect the youth in years to come, and we're seeing the backlash of that now. And unfortunately, it's going to take us a while to get through that, longer than I anticipated. Mario, just had to put your microphone on there, sir, just so Linda and Madeline can hear you.
Yes.
There you are.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have to say thank you to the chief, to all of the chair, to my colleagues. We're all saying the same thing. We're proud of York Regional Police. But what we need to make a move, we need to move. What are we going to do to stop what's happening? And it's not going to stop. It's going to get worse and worse. What do we need as a board? What do we need as a group? What other direction we have to take? If we take the same direction, we're not going to achieve anything. We're going to go to the slippery slope, and even now we're the best in Canada or the best in the world. It will change. But what are we going to do? Our job is here to think of what the future is, how we're going to achieve the future. What could we give the police for them in order to achieve and bring the law of the land in place? Because right now the law of the land is the last thing in the world. Nobody respects. Everybody thinks they do their own thing. Why is this? Are we as a board sit down and say, let's have a think tank and see, let's put something down. This is what we think, Mr. Chief, what could we improve? Because you have to go outside the box. The box you have now, you have a guideline what doesn't work. In a good way, because we're very proud of what we have here now. We're the safest, but it's not going to work. It's not going to go. It's going bad out there. I'll tell you, just walking down the street, saying good morning to a person, he turns around the other way. It's very, so we have to come out and think of what we're doing. We have to stop thinking of the La La Land and the fun and everything. We have to start thinking, what does police work? What is our board? What we're going to do in order to give the tools and definitely we need their input, because they're the ones that are going to implement the law of the land. And if that comes back in the mind of all policemen, the law of the land is the law of the land for everybody. It doesn't make a difference what color you are. It doesn't make a difference what nationality. So the police in our area respect the law of the land. It does not respect. Of course, the law of the land means you respect the people. If the people don't respect the law of the land, yes, they're out of luck. They don't belong here.
Yes, sir.
I mean, without giving an answer as to what the answer is, what I would say is you know, there's a move right now, at least in the province, that we've seen a recent announcement around calling on the federal government, you know, or putting pieces on the table to be a little more tough on crime but my general comment in it, on it is this, is that all of the actors in the justice space need to be on the same page, right? You can't have the police going out and saying, we are going to be tough on crime and we're going to, you know, do higher level investigations and put people behind bars and then them walk out the next day. Like, that's not going to solve the problem. And if you want to know why people are showing a complete lack of respect, it's because, in my view, is my personal view, is that when somebody commits a carjacking or a home invasion with a firearm or not, and they're already on a bail and they're let out the next day on another bail, why would they? Right? We're demonstrating to people that whether you respect it or not, you're going to be out. There's no consequence. So I think that all has to be tightened up. And we've done a lot of work. We collectively in the police profession have done a lot of work across the province to lobby both the provincial and federal government to enhance bail reform, which there's been some work done. There's a lot more to be done. We've worked well with, and I know Deputy Almeida can speak to this as well, about, you know, some of the work we're doing with the ports, with CBSA. You know, there's still more work to be done. I don't think it needs to be a new approach. I think we just need to get back to what's reasonable. And I think what's reasonable is if somebody's out on the street on bail for committing a violent crime, there's probably a good reason for them not to be out the next time they commit a violent crime. Right. And then when there are real consequences to their actions, then we will see changes. That's my thoughts on it. And if there's none, then this is where we will continue to see more of what we see. Right. There has to be a wholesale different way of thinking about this, because right now it's a free for all the way I see it. Right. There's too many people getting out on bail. There's too many people on the streets on many bails. And some of those are in relation to violent crime. So one would ask, a community member would ask, well, why is that? That doesn't seem reasonable. Doesn't seem reasonable to me either. So I think there's some changes that still have to be made, and we will still keep beating that drum to make sure those that need to make change will make change. And make no mistake about it, though, our men and women that are out there doing the job are not going to back away from doing their job. And we will continue to hold those accountable and arrest those responsible for victimizing. And the last thing I'll say, which I didn't mention, we are doing a great job in terms of our violent crime dealing with that issue, right? We are a high percentages of clearance on violent crime because that's where we are putting our energies, because that is a priority for the community, right? We just need to do more of it and get all the actors in place, and then I think we'll see some changes. So that's it.
Maybe, Mr. Chair,
Sure.
through you, what could this board do? What could we do as a board and say, look, put the 8 signatures, send it to the provincial government, send it to the federal government. We have to act. If we don't act, they have no tools to implement the law of the land.
Okay, well, I'll let Anitra and staff take that back and bring maybe something to the next board meeting. We'll send something to the province and the federal government. Okay,
Thank you.
Walter?
One other follow-up on something that you raised, Chief, and that's the mindset of officers as they continue through this environment, this changing environment. One of the real concerns that emerges over time is as officers increase personal levels of anxiety in contact, there's a growing gap and separation between officers and the public. That just exacerbates the issue, gets worse, because officer in the role of guardian as opposed to enforcer is a very different reality, and it's a very different relationship. The public feels that it is well served when they see police not as behind a blue wall, but as members of the community. And I really fear that this is a malignant cultural growth, particularly with the youngest officers, because they come into a world not armed with the kind of experience, obviously, you as leadership have. And I think, obviously, the burden of addressing these issues is yours. We are, as a board, certainly obviously completely supportive of you, but that's a concern that I think has to be thought through and raised and worked on an ongoing basis to avoid the polarization that really will accelerate the problem. And be that at a traffic stop or be that in an investigation. The further the service goes from the community, the less effective the overall outcome will be for all parties concerned. And again, you have done a brilliant job leading this organization and making it what it is. But that is just one more challenge that really accrues to all of you and gets dropped on your plate to get ahead of this before it becomes really insidious and really problematic in the way the force reacts. And particularly, it's the youngest people with the least experience that have the most interface with the public. And concurrently, they are exactly the people that are most stressed because, again, they don't have 20 years of service. They don't understand the world the way the leadership does. And I think it is somehow needs to be addressed. I don't presume to tell you how to do that, but I think it's an issue that really you need to get ahead of before it gets worse.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna ask Madeline and Muriel just to move the recommendation, which is to receive for information at this time. All those in favor? Against, the motion's carried. So there's probably no unfinished business, but there's a bit of a.
Oh, Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Sorry, good morning, everyone.
morning.
I have an item for new business and I don't know whether we want to put it on unfinished business or other
Doesn't matter.
business.
Sure. Let me go to it right now. Linda, go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning all, and I apologize for not being there in person.
Got a little bit of a cold?
And laryngitis, yes. So
Whoa. And it's your birthday coming up too. Happy birthday again.
thank you. Saturday. So yeah, I better be feeling better by then.
Yes, you better.
Mr. Chair, as we all know, the holiday season is approaching us. And as such, YRP is very well engaged in a successful Holiday Heroes campaign. And as you know, I've tried to be involved with this and do what I can. But it's come to my attention, I'm just not quite sure if I can go through you to Deputy Almeida. I don't believe that our board has given funds to Holiday Heroes in the past. I'm just wondering if you could confirm that for me.
That's correct. The board has not directly given us funds for Holiday Heroes.
Thank you, Deputy Almeida. Mr. Chairman, I don't know whether it's appropriate to put a motion on the floor today or if you would prefer for Anitra to bring back a report, but I believe that we have plenty of funds in our Public Relations Reserve Fund, and I would like to propose $20,000 to go to Holiday Heroes. I don't know whether you want that coming back as a report or if we can give direction today to direct Anitra to release those funds to YRP for Holiday Heroes. As we know, the need is extremely great this year, especially for food.
Okay, I have no problem. I just, Anitra can bring something back so we can put it in a proper perspective. And then, it's only about 3 weeks away. We have another board meeting and then we can bring it back as a report to go forward with that. Linda, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
And just
That's
so we
fine.
know, I had thought we had given money to the Holiday Heroes, but I stand to be corrected. I know people are a lot smarter than I am around this table, but I thought we had, but I think, but if we can do that, we'll bring a motion back for the next board meeting and it'll be in time for the season. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chairman. I'll duly move that motion to
Okay, that
to
report
direct
comes back.
Anitra to bring back a report to the November board meeting. I'm going to stop talking now.
Seconded by Norma. All those in favor? Against, the motion's carried. Thank you, Linda. Okay, York Regional Police IACP Award, Chief.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of good news stories to talk about here. Just thought it was worthwhile celebrating this, at least letting the board know what happened. So you may remember Operation Auto Guard last year was a combined campaign of crime prevention efforts and targeted enforcement with a focus on disrupting organized crime groups and dealing with the issues of auto theft in the region. It was led down at 4 District back then, and we have it underway now in Richmond Hill. It led to the recovery of 80 vehicles worth $5 million, about $5 million. 56 people were charged with almost 300 offenses. York Regional Police we were nominated for the award and actually won the award at the International Association of Chiefs of Police conference. And the award is titled Leadership in the Prevention of Crimes Award category. So it was given to us. Maybe I'll turn it over to Deputy De Silva. He can just mention he was there on my behalf. I couldn't stay, but was there on behalf of the organization and the board to accept the award. And I don't know if we've ever been awarded an award at the IACP like that. So anyways.
Deputy?
Thank you, Chief, and through you, Chairman Emerson. It was truly a privilege to attend on behalf of the Chief and the entire organization and be the recipients of this prestigious award. When you think about the International Association of Chiefs of Police and what that means globally, it's not just from a North American perspective. It is representation from all police services across the entire globe. And for York Region, who sits within Canada, to actually be awarded that award speaks volumes of our efforts, speaks volumes of the collaboration, and really speaks volumes of our approach in terms of actually highlighting that community safety and crime prevention is a shared responsibility. And you've heard the Chief say that many, many times. And the IACP recognized that true community safety has to be and must be incorporated within our community, and our community definitely plays a role with that. So it was a true privilege to attend. Our officers from 4 District, Inspector Ahmed Salia, did attend with me, and it was a great night to be recognized for the hard work and the accomplishment and the success that AutoGuard was. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'll finish off by saying that through you, Mr. Chair, that we talked about at the press conference the 30% reduction in at least on the theft side, right? And I'd be remiss if I didn't at least at the same time recognize Al and his entire team on in the investigative services world, organized crime, because they're doing some significant work on auto theft as well. And while we can't say this or that played an overall role in the 30% reduction, I definitely know the collaboration between both branches and the significance of a project like this, which took a different approach, is playing a role. The people in our auto squad are doing tremendous work and really, really hitting the mark too. So just a really good news story for YRP, and I thought it was definitely worth you hearing it directly. So thank you, sir.
Well, I'd move a motion to receive the verbal verbal report from the Chief and Deputy Silva. And congratulations to the YRP. And I believe District 4 was the one that you sprinkled out. So congratulations, and send our congratulations on to them. So moved by Steve and Norma. Thank you. Any further comments? All those in favor? Against, the motion's carried. Upcoming events, Halloween in the village, but now Halloween's just switched to Madeline's house. It's now, I understand that she's got quite a display. I don't have her address. We won't do it over there, but if you want to go by.
Come by anytime.
Come by anytime. It's just as big as at the safety village. So congratulations. I haven't seen it.
And my
but
grandkids went to the safety place this weekend and they had a fabulous time.
Yes, it's always a great event out there. So the rest members of the board, if you could advise Jacqueline, I will be at the graduation and the exemplary services next week. And the last one, I asked the chief if I could come to his holiday luncheon on December 11th, and he said he would see if he could sneak me in the back door. But anyways, that's always a good night, a good luncheon. So if you're going to go to any other ones, please advise the Jacqueline so she can make it noted so that they know you're coming and be there. Okay. Briefing on the Prime Minister's, we used to call that, what was that, kiss dating or something, Lena, when we went to see the people at FCM and AMO? Speed dating. Okay, this is not speed dating from the Prime Minister. He came for 15 minutes. Chief, go ahead. And you probably got a few checks from him, did you, or no?
No, I did not. I'll just touch on this briefly. I thought it was definitely worth updating the board on the fact that the Prime Minister did come to YRP. I do want to thank both Deputy Almeida's team and the auto squad who hosted the Prime Minister and took him on a bit of a tour of our area downstairs at headquarters and showed him what some of the issues are with vehicle theft. Also want a big, huge thank you as well to both Christina, Superintendent Dawson, and Karen Richards, who worked very hard behind the scenes trying to make this happen and facilitate it. And as you can imagine, it's not easy when Prime Minister's come into town. You know, we had time to have a very frank discussion with the Prime Minister about some of the issues that are playing out that are tied directly to the federal government. You know, in terms of legislation, so the high points that were raised around new legislation on banning the sale of key reprogramming devices, something that we believe should be done. A national vehicle identification number registry, which there isn't one in our country. I found it kind of interesting that within a day or two, there was an announcement about, or a call through the federal government for a national VIN registry after they came to York Region. So whether we had a role in that, or maybe they were hearing it from multiple entities, the message was hopefully heard. And obviously, the biggest issue is border integrity. That is still an ongoing challenge. I know Deputy Almeida and myself met with the Port of Montreal folks online a couple of days ago to talk about this. And, you know, it may not always be as it seems and as easy as it seems to address the issue, because there's different entities that have impact in ports and things like that. But there is definitely work that is going to get done, and we're seeing some movement there. Deputy, did you want to as well touch on maybe the auto squad piece and what went on there?
Thank you, Chief, and through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, it was very interesting to have the Prime Minister and his staff there. In relation to the National VIN Registry, there's been countless testimony before a number of parliamentary committee hearings where they've talked about a number of the issues that we raised to the Prime Minister. But as the Chief indicated, it's amazing how things seem to flow through quickly once you go right to the source. And you know, the announcement by the federal government calling on the provincial agencies to consider that national program is a step in the right direction. And as is the conversation around the border integrity. One piece that we also touched on with the Prime Minister, and again, having him able to see what our officers were encountering, and them walking them through the types of processes that they initiate when they're doing their investigation, was also very enlightening for him, because when we had showed him that there's key reprogramming devices available on Amazon for $500 to $900, plentiful ads for that, I might add, that he looked at one of our staffers and said, this is something that we could easily rectify. But as I said before, there's been countless testimony in the past 6 months, as a matter of fact, to that effect. So being able to capitalize on our 15 minutes with the Prime Minister, we hope that you know, we will make some headway there. And I'll just go back to one of the questions that Mr. Cortellucci asked, and that is, whenever the board has the opportunity, and we can certainly assist with some motions or recommendations going forward that the government considered, we're happy to do that as well. Because that's what we've been doing for the last year. And another thing that I think is also very important is by having members of the board show up at our media releases in relation to some of these investigations, to some of these announcements, also helps and demonstrates to the general public the board's commitment to addressing these issues. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. The last thing I'd say is, you know, when we think about lobbying from a board perspective, there's lots of work that's already been done at the Ontario Association of Chiefs in terms of resolutions that have been moved forward on auto theft, on bail reform, on all of the bigger issue items that we are still seeing challenges with. So any opportunity we can find through our board, specifically through the Ontario Association of Police Services boards provincially, to lobby for these really important issues and to continue to beat that drum is going to help. So really want to appreciate the board. Appreciation to the board. The last thing I did have a conversation with the Prime Minister about was guns. And as I mentioned too in our discussion, this is nothing new. This is nothing I know the Prime Minister has not heard before, in that the guns that we're seeing showing up on the streets of York Region and more broadly in the Greater Toronto Area and the province are coming from the US. Border integrity, again, is an issue as it relates to guns. So, we can only talk so much to solve the problem. We don't have the solution, but we know what the problem is. So, that was essentially what the 15 to 20 minutes was, amongst a few photographs. But no, it was well worthwhile. And, it's not every day you get an opportunity to actually have a frank discussion with the Prime Minister and him put himself out there to actually listen. And we definitely appreciated the opportunity, and hopefully it had some impact. So I'll leave it there.
Good. Well, I know it's a feather in your cap, sir, when the Prime Minister comes to headquarters to go over that. That's always a plus. The next one is York Regional Police honored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving by York Region, Chief? Or is
Okay.
it?
Yep. Thank you, sir. Just give me 1 second. I think I lost the report here. Okay, there we go. So October 23rd, there actually is an award named after one of our officers, Superintendent Sarah Riddell. It's called the Sarah Riddell Officer of the Year Award, which is pretty amazing, actually. 3 officers were honored by MAD York Region for their ongoing efforts in fighting impaired driving, which we're really proud about. 2 of the officers received the Sarah Riddell Award at the MAD York Region Annual Award Ceremony on October 23rd this year. The award acknowledges exceptional enforcement of impaired operation by way of arrests, charges, convictions, breath tests, and drug recognition evaluations. It was named, as I mentioned, for the former Road Safety Bureau Staff Sergeant, Sarah Riddell, who is now one of our superintendents running our community services, and she's doing an amazing job there. Constable Jason Noble of the Road Safety Bureau and Constable Matthew Rodney were honored as the award recipients this year for those 2 awards. And the 3rd award was given to Constable Todd Snooks of the Road Safety Bureau and Partnerships Unit. He was named recipient of the MAD Special Recognition Award, having gone above and beyond to help stop impaired driving and support victims. He's been developing and implementing road safety initiatives for the unit for the past 3 years. And I know Todd also does significant work here in the region, working with the region on this initiative as well. So again, just another reason to be proud of a lot of our women and men out there, and as well Sarah for doing such great work in there in the past, so much so that they've named an award after her. So we're just really proud of this. So
Good. So just a motion to receive the verbal report on Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and send a congratulations to the 3 officers that received these special awards for a job well done. I know Todd Snooks very well. So anyways, so Walter and Norma, thank you. Move that. Okay. All those in favor? Against? The motion's carried. That's all. The chief had any other business by members of the board? I just have a couple. Once again, Linda, happy birthday on Saturday. Hope you have a great day. I do apologize. I'm not going to be able to be there, but I know you'll have a great turnout and celebration, and I hope you're feeling better. November the 4th, it's the chief's birthday. The chief, he's going to be his birthday too. So coming up. So that's it's a Monday or something. Yeah, so that's great. And I told you about Madeline's Halloween. Her Halloween house. It's probably very good to see. They have 3 or 4 sheds full of Halloween stuff they have to bring out. Kenny told me. And I do apologize to the board. I have no tie on today. I thought it was in the office. Lena, you didn't take it, did you? I thought it was there, but I looked this morning and I told my wife not to throw those ties out because I really love my ties. And obviously I must have misplaced it somewhere, not purposely, but I will have it for next board meeting. I promise. I love ties. I'll keep all of them, all 3 that I have anyways. I think that's all. I need a motion to go in camera. Thanks, Mario and Steve. We're going to move in camera at this time. And I thank you all, and who's not staying, we'll see you all in a couple of weeks from now.